If one looks at visuals of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, where Prime Minister Modi is seen talking with Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin, it seems all is well and going in the right direction. India and China chimed in on condemnation of terror. And while Xi said it is the right choice for India and China to be friends, Beijing continues to support Islamabad. So we are left to wonder is it just tall talks or he means business. Hello and welcome. You're watching India Today Global with me, Geeta Mohan. Now, amidst tariff war, India's participation in the SCO was seen as a new game changer. But as Prime Minister Modi wrapped up a two-day SCO Summit in Tianjin, Pakistan's Field Marshal Asim Munir has landed in China to witness the Military Day parade on the 3rd of September, commemorating the 80th anniversary of World War II. So is China to be trusted? Will the dragon dance with the elephant or just emit fire and betray India's trust yet again? I'm going to say statecraft.
At the SCO Summit in Tianjin, India pressed successfully to have the Pahalgam terror attacks included in the joint declaration. A reversal after the issue was rejected at the defense ministers' meeting earlier this year. Thanking international partners for their solidarity in the fight against terror, Prime Minister Narendra Modi condemned the assault as directed against humanity and urged a united global response to cross-border terror.
हाल ही में हमने पहलगाम में टेररिज्म का बहुत ही घिनौना रूप देखा। इस दुख की घड़ी में जो मित्र देश हमारे साथ खड़े रहे, मैं उनका आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। यह हमला केवल भारत की अंतरात्मा पर ही आघात नहीं था, यह मानवता में विश्वास रखने वाले हर देश, हर व्यक्ति को खुली चुनौती थी। ऐसे में प्रश्न उठना स्वाभाविक है, क्या कुछ देशों द्वारा आतंकवाद का खुलेआम समर्थन हमें स्वीकार्य हो सकता है?
India also put forward its position on Operation Sindoor and how the precision military strikes were directed to dismantle the terror hubs in Pakistan.
आतंकवाद से लड़ाई में भारत ने एकजुटता पर बल दिया। इसमें एससीओ रेड्स की बहुत महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका रही। इस वर्ष भारत ने जॉइंट इंफॉर्मेशन ऑपरेशन को लीड करते हुए अल-कायदा और इससे जुड़े आतंकी संगठनों से लड़ने का इनिशिएटिव किया।
India's strong push against terror in SCO, of which Pakistan too is a member, ensured consensus in mentioning Pahalgam terror attack, but it came saddled with terror attack in Pakistan. While condemning Pahalgam, the declaration also condemned Khuzdar and Jafar Express attack. China once again managed to hyphenate India and Pakistan. Prime Minister Modi was clear, even in China, talks and terror can't go together. He greeted other leaders and interacted with Xi and Putin before the summit. But for Pakistani Prime Minister Sharif, there was only cold shoulder. This is also the first time that both the leaders were at a multilateral summit after Operation Sindoor. Then the telling visuals of Modi and Putin walking past the Pakistani Prime Minister without acknowledging him. Another video of Sharif when he came up from behind to shake hands with Putin, who was walking with Xi. Sharif was ignored. Could it be because of Islamabad's growing closeness with Washington, D.C.? The isolation by main SCO players also comes at a time when US has announced major investments in oil in Pakistan. Though Modi did not attend the SCO Summit in 2024 in Kazakhstan, this SCO Summit in Tianjin holds significance. It comes at a time when India-US relations are going through a rough patch. US has slapped additional tariff of 25% on India, doubling it to 50%, the highest tariff rate in the world. India's proximity with Russia as a trading partner in oil and energy, besides exchange of culture, has drawn the ire of Donald Trump. With Mahashweta Lala, Bureau Report, India Today.
You can watch the entire analysis on what's at stake for India. Has India been hyphenated with Pakistan yet again on my show Statecraft, only on India Today Global. That's our YouTube channel. But let's get our guests in. Ambassador Mohan Kumar, former diplomat, joins me for a conversation on this subject. There's also Michael Busacchio. He's senior fellow at the Atlantic Council's Eurasia Center. I'll start with Ambassador Mohan. Ambassador Mohan, thank you so much. Now, there was a lot of painstaking effort that was made by the Indian side for decades to dehyphenate India and Pakistan. With the SCO statement where Pahalgam and Jafar attacks have been mentioned in one go, and the posturing by America that we've been seeing, do you think that we are seeing hyphenation of India and Pakistan yet again?
I don't believe so. I think I see the only country in which some people seem to be hyphenating us is United States of America. I had the singular privilege of joining the parliamentary delegation, which was to go to countries like Singapore, Japan, South Korea, Indonesia, Malaysia. I did not hear a thing about hyphenation. And in fact, the Secretary General of ASEAN clearly said, we know India is India, Pakistan is Pakistan, and we don't equate the two. So frankly, apart from some people in the US, maybe, other than that, in no other country, Geeta, I must be honest with you, have I heard anybody seriously hyphenating India and Pakistan. This seems to exist more in the minds of either people in India who may wish to do it, or some in the United States. I haven't found another country in which people equate us.
Right, but there's China too. We've seen Wang Yi visit India, then Afghanistan, then Pakistan, talking about Pakistan being the most important country. Michael, coming to you, is this a cohesive bloc? How do you see it? Looking at the Russia-Ukraine war, looking at Russia, India, China coming together, a lot of optics, it looks good. But your key takeaways, is this real? Or is this not a cohesive bloc?
Yeah, well, let's be clear about one thing, Geeta. China is the senior partner in all of this. This whole SCO was carefully scripted. China showing itself to be the major leader in Eurasia, especially when it comes to organization of energy resources. For Mr. Putin, this was clearly an opportunity to ride in off the tailwinds that he received in Alaska when he was resurrected from the diplomatic dead by no less than Donald Trump. And I thought it was interesting too, as far as Prime Minister Modi goes, that I believe before arriving in Tianjin, he had a call with Ukrainian President Zelensky here. So it goes to show that India is taking a kind of unique path of its own towards the Ukraine conflict, where China and Russia, very interestingly, collaborating quite a bit, whether it comes to not only the sale of Russian oil to them, but the other flow, provision of Chinese technology to Russia to help conduct this war in Ukraine.
Right, but let's zoom out a little, Michael, and answer this. Then what do you make of the entire issue of the Russian oil itself? The fact that India bought it at the behest of the United States of America to service European countries, and now we are also getting reports that not only Europe, Ukraine also received diesel from India.
Yeah, well, don't get me started, Geeta. I know there's a lot of hypocrisy coming out of European capitals. On the one hand, they push for sanctions. The United States, as you know, has really clobbered India with tariffs for its purchasing of Russian oil. But yeah, you're right. India refines a lot of oil, buys it at very good cost in its own currency, and then it resells it abroad. You know, the Ukrainians realize this very well. Where I am right now is that whatever comes out of the mouths of European leaders, they have to double check it twice, because on the one hand, there's a lot of blah, blah, blah in support of Ukraine, but on the other hand, they turn around, buy Russian products and energy. There's even Russian-owned steel manufacturing going on within a short drive of EU headquarters, NATO headquarters in Brussels. That's all everyone needs to know.
Right. Ambassador Mohan, let's be honest, the bilaterals took place on the sidelines of the SCO Summit that Prime Minister Modi had gone for. Is this strategic autonomy or strategic need where America has pushed India more toward China than ever before?
That's a good question, Geeta, and I want to be careful with my answer if you allow me. I think the rapprochement with China started in October in the meeting in Kazan between the two leaders. With Russia, we've always maintained that we will not allow these ties to be affected by third parties. So in many ways, I see India's participation in Tianjin, where he's having these meetings with Xi Jinping and Putin, as a continuation, frankly, from Kazan and from our policy. But I think what the Trumpian tariffs and the current difficulty in our relationship with the United States of America may have done is to give it two things. One, it may have provided unintended momentum and impetus to the ties, at least unintended from the American side. And secondly, it also gives an optics, frankly, but that optics has only very little to do with India. A lot of countries have been at the receiving end of the United States, including Europe. So what you are seeing in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization almost seems like a photo op which demonstrates multipolarity, if you like, and really options for countries like India. Now, such a thing would not have been taken note of if everything was normal between India and the US and everything else was normal in Ukraine and so on. But given the current geopolitical tension in the world, this SCO summit, I think, has assumed an outsized importance, frankly. And I think it's hard not to think of it as taking place against a geopolitical background, which has given this meeting far more importance than it would have otherwise got.
Well, but again, we are looking at Asim Munir landing in China, Ambassador Mohan. The Pakistani Field Marshal Asim Munir there, while there was a lot of news about Shehbaz Sharif, whether he got importance or not, whether he was snubbed or not. But the truth of the matter is that this is the man that Putin and Xi Jinping would be engaging with when he's there for the Military Day parade on 3rd of September. Where does India stand there?
I don't think India is naive at all, Geeta. I know exactly. This is what I have been saying over the last 2 days. I'm not suggesting to you sitting that there is a paradigm shift in the relationship between India and China. We know that we have got 50,000 troops on the border. Your Prime Minister Modi went to Japan. In the joint statement, we spoke of East China Sea and South China Sea. You seriously think the Chinese wouldn't have noticed that? So I think they do know all of that. I think India knows all of that. Both sides are getting into this with eyes wide open. When they say we are development partners, not rivals, I see that statement as applying only to the economic and trade relationship between India and China, where I think China has lifted some of the restrictions on rare magnets and tunnel boring machines and fertilizers. And India, for its part, has agreed with Xi Jinping that yes, we are development partners and not rivals. This is not something we have done in the past. We have. So that part of the economic and trade relationship is, I think, also attributable to the dependency that India has got vis-a-vis China. And again, that is no secret, whether it is active pharmaceutical ingredients, photovoltaic cells, rare magnets, semiconductors, there is dependence. So I think it is really about that dependence that we have developed to China. But I think all the other structural issues between India and China remain on the table. I think you have to see this as the beginning of a thaw in the relationship. And that's why we are still talking about visas. We are still talking about Kailash Mansarovar. We are still talking about direct flights. So those are all really very incipient steps. But I would not jump or to the conclusion that there is going to be a massive shift. China is not going to sacrifice its relationship with Pakistan. We know that. But then we are also not going to sacrifice our relationship with other countries, including the US, Japan, etc. So, in many ways, I think what you are seeing is a dance, really. It's a geopolitical dance which is not leading to marriage or courtship or anything. It may be courtship, but not really romance and marriage. We have to wait and see. Right now, it's just a
Okay.
dance, and you just have to see where it goes.
Okay, all right. Leading to a dance. It's a beginning of a thaw, not a reset. We'll have to wait and see how Europe reacts to it, or America for that matter. Ambassador Mohan Kumar and Michael Busaku, thank you so much for joining us here on the network. Well, the problems with US does not stop ever. Donald Trump's trade advisor Peter Navarro does it again. This time he attacks India with a casteist jibe. He goes on to blame Brahmins for exploiting the Indian people. In the US, Brahmin in the sense means rich business families, where Boston's wealthy elite were once called the Boston Brahmins. The Boston Brahmins were a community of rich, well-educated Protestants in Boston, most prominent as a group in the 1800s, and the first of them flew decades of the 1900s, so to say. The Trump advisor had earlier attacked India and accused it of funding the Russian war by buying Russian oil. He had called India Maharaja of tariffs and even called India Russia's laundromat. Recently, the relations between India and the US have soured due to additional tariffs slapped on India, following which India has the largest tariff rate in the world, up to 50% now. Despite the low in the relations, India says that talks with the US continues to find a resolution. But now, President Trump has posted on Truth Social as to why tariffs were needed. Seems like he is feeling the heat of the tariffs on the home front. He said, and I quote, or he wrote, and I quote, "What few people understand is that we do very little business with India, but they do a tremendous amount of business with US. In other words, they sell us massive amounts of goods, their biggest client, but we sell them very little." He added, "They have now offered to cut their tariffs to nothing, but it is getting late. They should have done so years ago. Just some simple facts for people to ponder." Is this about people pondering back home here in India, or on the home front in the United States of America, where the president could be feeling the heat of the economic strains in the country? Rohit Sharma joins me from Washington, D.C. Rohit, thank you so much for joining me. Let's begin with the social media post itself, and then we'll work ourselves backwards. What do you make of this? Is this Trump feeling the heat of tariffs on the home front, the domestic front?
Look, the meeting at SCO, the images, frankly, the videos of the leaders enjoying candid movement has not been lost on anybody in America. All major US media outlets have been reporting about it. Talk about Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, New York Post, CNN, ABC. All of them have been talking about what happened over the weekend in China. So I think this is some kind of a realization that President Trump may have had. Also, the fact that some of his supporters, including people who he famously went on podcasts with and recorded podcasts with, are coming in support and saying President Trump should actually reevaluate his strategy when it comes to India and should not push India in the hands of the Chinese. So yes, I think it's a reflection of what happened over there in China, and everybody is taking note of the developments that took at the SCO.
But he's also made an interesting point. He says that they have now offered to cut their tariffs to nothing. He's been saying it repeatedly, Rohit, but that certainly is not true, because engagement is still continued and there has been no forward movement. This would have been a huge official announcement should that have been India's policy.
I agree 100%, Geeta. There's no official communication from anybody that India is offering that to the US, not from the Indian side. Nobody's communicated that from the US side. So if President Trump is saying that, maybe people around him had advised him, that is what it could be on the table, but there's no official who's confirmed that. The other part is you also have to look at, there are growing concerns, and people have been asking the question to the Trump administration on two things. First, why are the Chinese not getting these secondary sanctions? That's number
Right.
one. Number two, what is the administration doing with trying to run down this relationship with India? What does the US achieve by that? So I think, this is another way of pivoting towards, tariffs and trade and whatnot. I think
That's
the
right.
administration is not clearly answering the question that the US media is asking the administration.
And finally, Rohit, about Peter Navarro's comments. Brahmins, a casteist jibe, don't think he understood the importance or the relevance of that word here in India. It has created massive uproar in the country. But did he just mean wealthy people in India, or was it more than that? Is it the Boston Brahmins he's referring to?
First things first, Geeta, for the record, we were the first ones to break that news when he posted that. So you should take credit where due. Number one. Number two, I don't think he understands that, but what he was trying to do, and a day before that, he'd posted a picture of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, I think was meditating at a temple. And then to come out the very next day and talk about Brahmins, I really don't think he understands the context of it. He's probably getting advised by people who do not understand how caste system, works in India, the historical implications, and even today, elections are fought in India on those lines. So I think Navarro was, trying to be slick here, is my understanding, but I don't think he understands any historical context of, you talked about Boston Brahmins or Brahmins in general. I don't think he has any of that context.
Okay, but this is going to be one of the biggest stories, the top story that we will be tracking in terms of what really happens. This is Peter Navarro at his best when it comes to his anti-India bias, Rohit. Very, very briefly.
Yes, and we'll have to wait and watch. This is going to be a very interesting week here in Geeta. We've been told there's going to be a meeting at least on some part of tariff discussion. Then you go into UNGA, and then there's a deadline of President Trump that he's set for the Russians. So we'll have to wait and watch how this all evolves. But right now, I think everybody in India has taken note of how India is moving away from the US and are partly blaming President Trump and his advisors who have thrown this relationship, honestly, down the water.
Okay, we'll have to wait and see how that really pans out for India, for the United States of America, and for the RIC. Rohit Sharma, thank you so much for joining us. Now, a 6.0 magnitude earthquake struck eastern Afghanistan around midnight on Sunday, killing at least 812 people and injuring more than 2,800. Government spokesperson Zabiullah Mujahid said the worst hit areas included Kunar, Nangarhar and Laghman provinces, where several villages were absolutely destroyed. Those are visuals that you can see. He said 12 people were killed and 255 injured in the Dar-e-Noor district of Nangarhar province, while 58 people were injured and dozens of houses destroyed in Laghman's Alingar district. He added that 12 people were killed and 255 again injured in those areas. Rescue operations are continuing as teams rush to remote districts. India too has pledged aid. Those are visuals that are coming in from Afghanistan. Dr. Jaishankar, in a tweet, put out details of how he spoke with the foreign minister of Afghanistan, Muttaqi, and that India has pledged aid. Not the first time that India has come to Afghanistan's rescue in times such as this. It has happened in the past as well. We will have to wait and see how aid reaches those far-flung areas. These are really remote areas, but then rescue operations were not just about pulling people out, but then they were flown to the capital cities as well to ensure that they get proper hospital aid. On that note, we come to a close of this edition, but if you want to watch more stories on global affairs, please log on to and subscribe to India Today Global, our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. Goodbye and take care.